Hello, welcome to African Hour. My name is Fru Nde Kimbeng, host and producer of African Hour. I've been a Lowell resident for almost 35 years. African Hour has been on the air since 2002. African Hour brings distinguished guests to interview them, and mostly our leaders here in Lowell, to inform and educate the public as to what they do to govern us and what resources are available in the city. Today's special guest is someone who needs no introduction. He is the Superintendent of Schools in Lowell, Dr. Joel Boyd. Dr. Boyd, you are welcome on African Hour.
Well, thank you for having me, Fru. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here.
It's really an honor. I was very encouraged the very first day that I walked into your office and talked about and asked you if you would give me the honor to appear on my show. You graciously, not hesitated. You said, I am ready whenever. So thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you again for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Before we begin, Dr. Boyd, when you accepted my interview, I sent a request to the community because this is about the community. You are here to tell my constituents and the whole of Lowell what services are available in your jurisdiction and as the superintendent of schools. Most of all the questions that I will be asking you come from the community. So to begin with, sir, how are you enjoying your job as superintendent of schools in Lowell?
I love it. Absolutely love it. It's a great city. I get every single day the joy and the privilege to serve our families here in Lowell. We have over 14,000 students across 28 schools, and it's an extraordinary honor and a real extraordinary opportunity to be able to serve the community. So I've been here since 2019 as superintendent. My wife and I bought a home here. We too consider ourselves Lowellians. A little bit less time in the community than you have, Fru, but we're newer to the community. But to be able to serve the community you live in, to be able to serve our young people, it's just a real honor and a privilege, and I enjoy every minute of it.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction, and I hope my audience really enjoy and are looking forward to listening from you. To what extent did the COVID pandemic impact the performance on the test, and how do we recover from the deficit?
So it had a significant impact on every aspect of our students' lives, and certainly had an impact on academics and their performance on tests. We saw similar outcomes here and similar impact in our community as we've seen in other urban communities, and largely that relates to our kids not being connected to the school environment. Our schools are at their best when our students are able to be in class, be in person, be in a school environment, because there's more to school than the interaction between the teacher and the student. There's a significant amount of services that our families receive in our school communities. So when we separate our students from our schools, when we separate them where they can't come into school because of the COVID pandemic, we also end up separating them from many of those services. It wasn't just academics. There was everything that our students have that support them in school. And that impact was significant. We can see that on our test scores. However, very, very similar to what we've seen in every urban community. So we feel really, really confident here in Lowell that we're in a position to be able to support our children out of it. I do believe our students are better off from having experienced that pandemic here in Lowell than if they had been anywhere else. And I believe that we're well positioned to be able to support them, to support our students and families coming out of this. We look at 5 things in order to support our children. One is to make sure that we can extend learning time to make up for the lost learning time within school during the pandemic. So that's expanded summer school, expanded after school, and we also do school programming now during the winter and spring vacation weeks as well. Second is making sure that we can support our teachers in the classroom and to continue to help our teachers to with everything that they need to be able to support students. Third is to empower our teachers, our principals, and our parents with the flexibility they need to be able to make decisions about the resources they need in the school, to be able to tailor the supports individually to students so that they can be really strategic. Every individual child was impacted differently, and we believe that the people who know our children best, that know our children by name, are best positioned to be able to make educational resource decisions on their behalf. So each year within our budget, we empower our families to be able to make decisions within our school site councils based on the budget needs that they have within their schools. Fourth is to support our families. That connection between the school and home, parent involvement, family partnership, really critical before the pandemic, became even more critical during the pandemic, and now in the aftermath is going to be really important. And then supporting our schools with all of the non-instructional supports. We saw with the pandemic, there was an impact not only on our kids being separated from school, but there was also an impact on their social, emotional needs. It was a traumatic time for many families, and being able to connect back to school after being disconnected from school requires some additional supports that may not be traditional inside the classroom. We call those non-instructional supports. And we're also working to make sure we can provide those services as well. And we think if we do those 5 things, we invest in those 5 areas, that we'll be able to support our children and our families now and going forward to overcome any of the learning loss that took place due to the pandemic.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. I believe the parents and even the students are reassured that you are doing everything to actually put them on the right path. So thank you very much. There is another question here which I have to read to you. Is you hired Mrs. Zoe Zineku to help parents, their children do well in school. What specific programs is she focused on, and how well is that doing so far?
Yeah, so again, we really think and really believe that our parents are our partners. They're our students' first teachers in the home. Our children are in school for only a part of the day. They're in school for only a part of the year. And we've got to make sure as a school district that we extend that learning beyond the confines of the classroom, that we invite our parents in, and that we really support our parents to truly be those partners in the educational process. So Zoe is leading an initiative for us, which we call the Family Leadership Institute, which is our learning opportunities and learning activities for families. And that includes anything that a parent wants to learn so that they can be better involved, more involved in their child's education. One that we just had that was run through our Family Leadership Institute, which was really, really popular, was conversational English. So families, we have families from 70 different language backgrounds in Lowell. Our children come from extremely diverse backgrounds, and our families raised their hand and said they would like to really learn conversational English so that they can support their children in school and learn within the school environment those skills around the English language. And we just ran that at the Moody School, very popular. We expect to expand that out. Other opportunities include just learning about our curriculum. How do you support your child with math? Another might be, what does it mean to engage a parent-teacher conference? Another opportunity might just be, how do you navigate the educational system, the school system here in Lowell? How do you navigate the educational system in America? It could be very, very different from where our families are coming from, and we want to make sure that we can support our families so that they can be involved in their children's education and they can be empowered as partners. So anything that a family wants to learn, we'll provide it. And Ms. Zoe is leading that charge, leading that initiative. And if any families are interested in learning more and being a part of the learning experience with their children, don't hesitate, reach out to your schools, talk to your principals, and Zoe will take that up and put something together to be able to support families.
I think that is very wonderful in the sense that Lowell is the United Nation of cities, as I always mention. If you can really spend 7 days in Lowell, you would have traveled the 7 continents in the world. And all residents in the communities in Lowell, they come with diverse experiences, and mostly as an immigrant myself from Africa, and I do believe that that initiative also educates the parents to be able to build that bridges for the parents to open doors of communication with the schools, because some of the parents, because of lack of English, they may not be very articulate, and they may also fear to approach the school authorities to find out what is going on in the lives of their children. But bringing them like that, it also involves them to be able to know what is going on and who to contact at school if they suspect anything that's going on. So I think that's really a wonderful initiative. And I know Zoe very well from Africa, and she's an immigrant herself. So I really believe that she will do a wonderful job. So thank you very much. Let's segue into that. One question here, which you sort of already opened, it is really about the diversity within Lowell. Lowell, the equity and diversity spirit has always been out there, and people are the leaders are talking to embrace our various communities to feel at home. And this question really touches that. Said, I have heard that students do better when they see teachers who look like them. How are we doing providing a more diverse teaching staff? Do we have the funds to incentivize minority to get a teaching license and return to Lowell? And do we have a program to convert substitute teachers into licensed full-time teachers?
Yeah, so we have several things that are going on, but one, I would agree with your first statement. There's our students and the diversity of our students should be and has to be reflected within our staff, within the district. And it goes in two ways. One, students do better if they can see themselves in their teachers. And two, if we're not leveraging the diversity within our community in terms of the diversity of our staff, then are we taking advantage of all of the resources within our community that can provide support and provide opportunities for our children? So I think that diversity amongst our staff is an extremely important initiative for us to be working towards, and we have been working towards that and have been finding success at increasing the diversity amongst our teacher and staff population overall. We've been doing that since I arrived in 2019 through work that's in partnership between our HR office and our equity office in terms of recruitment, retention, and support. One of the initiatives that we have underway is we call it Diversifying Teacher Leaders, which is supporting our current teachers that identify among diverse populations, support them so that we can both retain them as teachers and also to be able to elevate their voice within the profession. We're finding a lot of interest within that program and a lot of success from the individuals that have moved through our Diversifying Teacher Leader program. The other thing that we are doing is we are making sure that we currently assess our data and we target in and through strategic recruitment to be able to support within our hiring process greater diversity amongst the pools of applicants. So that's been an expansion of our recruitment efforts to make sure that we can diversify the pool of applicants, because diversifying the pool of applicants is the first step in order to diversify the pool of hires, and diversifying the pool of hires then diversifies the teachers that are in front of our children. And then we also have a number of initiatives that we're working through in terms of looking at our current staff that are in other positions. You mentioned substitute teachers. We're also looking at our paraprofessionals and working to make sure that we can support them. That's within looking at our Lowell Teacher Academy, which is an initiative we have, then also supporting within our college partners. We're actually right now working in partnership with Middlesex Community College to explore the possibility of a program to support our paraprofessionals currently to be able to support them to licensure. So this is ongoing work over the course of time that'll continue so that we can really, truly leverage what I believe to be the greatest asset of this community, which is its rich diversity. We are the second most diverse community linguistically in the Commonwealth to Boston. 70 different languages spoken, the rich backgrounds and diversity amongst our students. Our students are going to be graduating into a global marketplace, a world that is becoming increasingly more interconnected. And that's a marketplace, that's a world, that's a career environment that our students are going to be graduating into. What better place to be prepared for that than in a classroom that replicates that same level of diversity? And I don't think you can do that any place better than here in Lowell.
That's very true. Lowell, an all-American city.
Yes, that's right.
Well, Dr. Boyd, this is really coming from me. We say that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. You just make your job so easy and someone listening will enjoy it. What are the challenges that you have faced doing your job?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think there's in any number of decisions that I make, and I make decisions all day long. You always have to consider a multitude of different factors. And sometimes when you make a decision, it's not going to be popular amongst everyone. And I make hundreds of decisions every day. And while I consider all of those factors, I think the biggest challenge any of us face that are in leadership decisions, which is where you come with the, uneasy as the head, because there's going to be critics.
Yes.
And we've got to know that when we're making a decision, that while that criticism is going to come, that we're making a decision that's in the best interest of individuals that are with the greatest need. So every decision that we make in Lowell is to benefit our children, and every decision we make is to benefit our children who are experiencing the greatest needs. And sometimes those decisions have to be made on behalf of children that don't have a voice for themselves. And so the challenges come in when there are unpopular decisions that we know are being made on behalf of children who don't have a voice for themselves, yet we have to be that voice. And when you don't have somebody standing up to say, that's the right decision, that I need that decision because you're making it on behalf of a family that does not have that voice themselves, then sometimes you hear the criticism and you don't hear the support. And you got to help to educate everybody and to teach everybody, why are we making this decision, whatever the decision may be, when all you're hearing is perhaps the louder voices of critics. And I think in those cases, and for anybody who's in a leadership role in the public sphere, that's the challenge that often we have to take on. And that challenge, I think, is the challenge that we embrace when we're in a leadership role in the public space. And I think what you do then is you make decisions based on your core values, your core beliefs, making them decisions based on the data and what we know to be in the best interest of our children. And then you help people to understand why you're making those decisions. And I think what you'll find with any leader in a community as diverse as ours, you've got to listen to every voice that is shared. But sometimes you can't please every voice. And what we say is we can do anything, we can't do everything. We got to stay very focused on our mission in front of us, and we've got to make sure that every decision that we make is on behalf of our children first.
Oh, wow, that's great. I'm very impressed. And Dr. Boyd, I will equally say that when you plant a seed, you don't see the results immediately. And as an educator yourself, you are planting that seed, and some people are looking at it expecting results now, but not knowing that what you are doing, you are planting the seeds, and the results, the fruits will be harvested when the kids really at the end of the year, or even many, not even 1 year, or even in the future, because you have put in the minds of the kids what their future should be. So, in fact, I really admire you, and I would say I want to thank you for the wonderful job that you do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to hear you say that.
Okay. I have another question here. How many principals of color are there in the district? What is the percentage of teachers of color in the district, and what is the district doing to recruit leaders and teachers of color?
So we talked about this a little bit earlier. We've got a lot of work that we've got to do to ensure that our staff population reflects our student population, but we're making progress. So I believe our last count, we've made progress from 7% of our teachers to 10% of our teachers identifying as teachers of color. So we've got a long way to go. However, that type of progress has been the greatest amount of progress that's been made in any 4-year period previously. We weren't prior tracking that progress the way we are now. So we feel more confident in the data. We feel more confident in the direction we're going. Overall, our staff diversity levels has increased from 10 to 15% and continuing to go up from there. We'll get our latest data by the end of this year. So what that says is that for any vacancy we have, greater likelihood now that we'll be diversifying that position from a position of vacancy than at any time in the past. But at the same time, we've got a considerable amount of work to go forward. And sometimes we see those incremental small numbers and we think not enough progress. I don't think it's going to be enough progress till we're reflecting our student body. At the same time, we can only make progress within a vacant position. So Lowell Public Schools has the good fortune of being a very stable employment environment. We don't have that many people overall leaving as you might within a new organization. Lowell's a very stable organization. So you only have a small percentage of positions that are turning over each year. And then of those positions, we're really working to make sure we diversify our recruitment pool, that we make sure we support our teachers through so that they can stay within the district. And then also making sure that, like we said before, that people that come into positions that may be not instructional positions, that we're continuing to support them so that they can advance through the profession. And we're doing all of those things to continue to make improvements. We've seen increases, we've achieved progress, but we still have a long way to go.
Okay, good. So long as we are progressing, that's all we need. I have a question here from Cliff Krieger. He's the host of City Life show. Yes, he's a very he's a great guy.
He's going to ask about test scores.
Right. Yes. I guest on the show too every Monday with him, so he is good. Cliff Gregor has the chart that groups schools by student size in the 4 groups, with 25 to 50% doing best in MCAS and 75 to 100% of biggest schools doing the worst. Given the importance of group size and group dynamics in performance, could our high school students benefit from keeping the central high school but sending half of our academic students to a separate school north of the Merrimack and half to a school south of the Merrimack?
So the question of school size, particularly at the high school level, has come up often. And there was a lot of, about 10, 15 years ago, there was a significant amount of discussion about reducing the size of the high school environment with this kind of concept in mind. And what we found is, no, it didn't have an impact on student outcomes, because the school size itself overall is not the most important factor. The most important factor is the relationship and the interaction between the teacher around really high quality tests and content in the classroom. And a school size, while you might think, and on the surface, might think that that would have a significant impact on that relationship, that interaction, it actually was found that that was not the case overall. There were some schools that had success by reducing their size and making the schools smaller. There were other schools that didn't, and basically what you saw is that the real investment in reducing the school size didn't have the type of impact that was expected or anticipated. So as a country, we've kind of moved away from that conversation a bit. You lose some things with a smaller school size. You just think about all of the extracurriculars, and your children are involved in a number of them. All of those opportunities that you get within a larger school, the smaller the school goes, the less those opportunities are. And for some students like myself, I was connected into the school environment, and I struggled in middle school, and I got connected back to the school environment in high school based on all of those other options I had. For me, it was sports and athletics that connected me back to the school environment. And when you go really, really small with your school environment, you get some pluses, you get some negatives. For some kids, it works. For other kids, it doesn't. And that's what we found overall. Here, what really has the biggest impact is connecting our students to adults with whom they have a strong relationship. Based on those strong relationships, we can make the programming relevant for them. And based on that relevance, then we can increase the rigor or the challenge in the programming and heighten our expectations for students. So we say it used to be the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now it's the 3 R's of rigor, relevance, and relationships. And if we're able to support those new 3 R's, then we're able to support every student in the size of the school. No matter whether it's large or small, we can still support the new 3 R's.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Boyd, I think this question, everyone in Lowell is anxiously waiting for the answer. When will the new high school be open?
So each step of the way, we have new opportunities open. So the new athletic center is open now, was open at the beginning of this year. It's a brand new athletic center. The entire complex will be completely done in 2026. It's on schedule. It'll be ready to go. But each step of the way, each phase, we have new assets, new amenities, new opportunities being open for students. So the first one this year, first day of school, we were able to open the new athletic center, world-class, state-of-the-art athletic center. That was the first phase of the project. So each year we'll be able to open new opportunities for students, and the entire complex is on schedule and will be completed as originally planned, which is 2026.
Well, you heard that from Dr. Boyd. So on this note now, I'd like to take a brief moment and reassure my viewers and audience that you are watching African Hour. African Hour is a TV program here in Lowell that brings guests and, most importantly, our leaders and to inform and educate the community of the services and opportunities that are available here in Lowell. And my special guest today is Dr. Boyd, Superintendent of Schools here in Lowell. Again, thank you very much for watching. Dr. Boyd, let's get back to the questions. This question is really a follow-up of what you have already answered. About this time last year, you showed data showing how groups perform in non-academic factors: tardy, truant, graduation rate, and college attendance. Best rates were Asian Americans, then Blacks, then Caucasians, and then Hispanic. Is there any actionable there?
Yeah, every day our teachers and our principals and our support staff are working after this very question. So we see disparities in performance here in Lowell, much like we see across the country. And those are disparities in terms of opportunities and outcomes, which are then moved into, and you can see them align with racial groups, linguistic groups, and economic groups. Those disparities are not inevitable and should not exist. We're seeing them here as we're seeing them all across the country. So our staff is working every single day to eliminate those gaps, to narrow those gaps, and to ensure that every student here in Lowell is graduating from high school on a path to college and career success. So we're seeing progress. We still have work that we have to do. Gaps in performance, we say, is in eliminating those gaps is our number one commitment to equity, and ensuring that we have no disparities that are identifiable by race, language, income, or any other aspect of a child's background, in ensuring that every child has equitable access to a high quality education and every child is graduating on a path to college and career success. What we say is that whether a child goes to college, that's a personal choice. Whether a child's prepared for college is a public responsibility. We take that responsibility seriously, and our teachers and our principals are hard at work every single day making that a reality for our children.
Thank you very much. On a personal note, Dr. Boyd, I served on the board of one of the charter schools here for over 10 years. And as we started the Lowell is really a mosaic that brings, and the students come from all over the world. And some of these students, even though they may not have that language proficiency, they bring a lot to offer in the education process. Is there any program or any process whereby teachers too can learn from these students and these parents who are coming from outside? Because education is like something that everyone contributes. The students too, the teachers learn from the students as well. I was once a teacher, but when I'm entering the class, when I'm getting out, I learn a lot from the students.
That's right.
Is there any program or any way that is put in place so that teachers can also take that into consideration and make our educational system better?
Yeah, I think it's always a partnership, and there's really that partnership between home and school and the partnership with the community overall, the broader community. I think there's a couple of things that we have in place, in addition to the program that we talked about before that Zoe's leading, is we've taken an approach here where 70% of the overall dollars that come into the district, those are planned directly by parents, teachers, and principals. So that's a time where they come together, they study the data, and together as a school community, they are able to plan resources to support children. That's a learning process that everybody engages in as a community that then makes a recommendation for what specific resources and services are needed at the school. We also have Lowell Student Advisory Council. That's a group of students that come together and support me on every decision that I make within the school district. So the best decisions I make are usually those decisions that are driven by our students. So our students come together, they provide recommendations to me, and from those recommendations, we can make decisions that benefit our children. I learn from our students every single day. So that's just a couple of quick examples, but every single day within our schools, our adults will tell you they're learning as much from our children as our children are learning from them. And the more opportunities that our children have to elevate their voice, the more opportunities that our parents have as partners, the better that our schools are for it.
Dr. Boyd, it seems like everything that you do, as you mentioned earlier, that you have the students' interests at heart. By involving them, you are not only asking them to give you questions, but you are actually mentoring them to be leaders themselves, to be able to come up with solutions that they feel proud that they have been involved, and they themselves can really follow maybe decisions and rules that the school takes. I think that is really a very brilliant way of involving the students.
We're going to be the highest performing school district in the Commonwealth, and we're only going to be able to do that if we allow our children to lead the way.
That's
right. Creating an environment which really able to elevate the voice of our children and families, that's the path forward for Lowell Public Schools.
Thank you. This question regards how are we doing regarding providing our students who do not get selected for Greater Lowell Tech with some form of vocational training?
Yeah, we actually have a great partnership with Greater Lowell Tech now. We call it our After Dark program. So students at Lowell High School can actually do their academic work at Lowell High School, and then in the evening they can move over to Greater Lowell Tech and take advantage of the vocational resources at Greater Lowell Tech. We're going to continue to expand that partnership as much as there's demand and as much as there are resources available. So we're really proud of our partnership with Greater Lowell Tech. For those in the community that may not know, there's a lot of resources at a vocational high school that simply can't be replicated. You think about the shops and the manufacturing equipment and all of those types of hard resources. You can't just create an auto shop at Lowell High School. So what we do there is we partner with Greater Lowell Tech, After Dark program. We're adding new programs each year, adding more students each year, and students can do their academic work, which they can do at Lowell High School, and then they can move over to Greater Lowell Tech and do their vocational work over at Greater Lowell Tech. So that's one program and one partnership that's enabling us to give more students more access to career credentialing.
Again, I like to tell my viewers and audience that these questions came from the community. I am reading them and I am asking them to Dr. Boyd to be able to give us answers. So this is just a cross-section that some members of the community were excited and sent to me to ask Dr. Boyd. So, this is a question that is about some books at school. The question reads, in Florida, there is a controversy over sexually explicit books in school library. Do we have such books here in Lowell?
We have a really dedicated staff that review all of our library selections, all of our books within Lowell. So we have standards, and our staff makes sure that all of our reading books that are within the library adhere to those standards. And we just did a significant investment this past year on revitalizing all of our libraries. We did phase 1 this year. We're going to do phase 2 next year. So all of our libraries across the city and every school will be completely revitalized, and the books that are being selected go through a rigorous vetting process so we make sure they meet the demands and expectations of our community. So our family should have high confidence that when a student checks out a book at a school library, it's meeting the expectations of our community.
Good. So how are we doing, Dr. Boyd?
I'm enjoying the conversation. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm as well as learning, from you. Okay, this is another question that came from the community. How is Lowell Public Schools specifically ensuring all students feel a strong sense of success and belonging, and what is the process around restorative justice in Lowell Public Schools?
The first part is about making sure that we know all of our children, that we value the backgrounds of our children, that we teach our staff about the diversity within our community, that we engage our staff in conversations so that our staff can continuously learn about the diverse backgrounds that our children are coming to school with, so that we can really, truly affirm all of our children within the school setting, so that the diversity amongst our students is truly reflected within our school community, that their identities as individuals is affirmed, and that their voices are elevated. I think that part of embracing our children and recognizing and affirming them is an important part to them feeling that they belong within the school community. The second part is a question about restorative justice, and that's a question when a child behaves in such a way that they do harm to a classmate or to another member of the community. Rather than simply receiving a consequence for that action and then coming back to school, they come together and learn of the impact of that behavior on the other member of the community, whether that be a student or a teacher, that the other child has a chance to express themselves. How were they harmed by that behavior? The student gets a chance to understand the impact of their behavior, and that together they can come back together as members of the community, and they both can grow through that process. That process of restorative justice is something that is in every one of our schools and is continuing to be expanded, and we're continuing to support for our staff members in our schools. And I think if our children feel welcome, feel like they belong, feel like the school is not someone else's community, but is a part of their community. And then the second part is, if you act in a way that's doing harm to a member of your community, then we should come together in a way to understand that harm and to learn and grow from that. And that's what that restorative practices part is. So 2 different parts of the same conversation. All of our children are engaged in a place where their identities are affirmed and they feel like they're a part of the community. And then the restorative justice is, if behaviors are such that it does harm to a member of the community, then come back together so we can learn what that harm is. Consequences are always part of it. That's part of teaching a child right from wrong. But at the same time, there's got to be an opportunity to learn, why was it right or wrong? And what was that harm done, so that we can learn and grow from it? Because a consequence alone is not enough to really teach our children to be the members of our community that I think our parents expect and want.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boyd, because I learned of restorative justice in 2016, and it actually opened my eyes. And I think my son Anye Ntarala Nkimbeng, who was elected president of 2016, actually educated me that restorative justice was very, very instrumental when he, through his experience, the incident that happened to him. And through that experience as a parent myself, the incident that happened to him, so many people reached out and said, those students who did to my son, they should be punished. To me, I didn't find that as to be punished. It should be a learning lesson. Because, and I believe those students today, they are going out there, they are ambassadors from their experience, they are teaching other students. And my son also came out of that experience, being very powerful, and also still have friends with those students. Because I asked him, you make mistakes, you learn from mistakes. When you make mistakes, you learn from mistakes. Your friends have done whatever they have done to you. It is learning. And one thing that I have to tell the people of Lowell is I am so proud to be a Lowellian, because the people of Lowell rally in support of me and my family. What happened was not good, and the people of Lowell really stood up for me and my family. And to that, I really say, you know what, Lowell is home away from home.
You say that so well. I really think everybody here who has the privilege of living within our community has those different experiences where the community's rallied around them in a time of need. You asked earlier about the question of the COVID pandemic and the impact on kids, and I mentioned that I think our students are better off from having experienced that here in Lowell than if they were anywhere else. It's because our community rallied around our students with the greatest needs. Our community was there on behalf of our children, on behalf of our families, and to me, it makes me proud to be within this community when I hear families such as yours to say the community rallied behind you at a time of need.
Yes,
and,
they did.
It makes me proud every time I hear that when a family member says that, because I do think those are the experiences that our families have. We have our challenges. Our students certainly experience times of need, but when our community learns of those times, when our community realizes that there's a family in need, our community rallies together, comes together. We're the 5th largest city in the Commonwealth, but we're the biggest small town.
Yes.
And I like to believe that we can benefit from the both of being a 5th largest city and also being the biggest small town. Put those two things together, we can make something special for our kids.
That's true. Well, Dr. Boyd, I would say that incident with my son happened before you came, and you must have heard about it. What steps are you doing so that such a thing never happens again, and that every student, regardless of where you come from, should aspire and have that confidence to run for elected office at school and have the majority support of his fellow students?
Yeah, that happened prior to me, but I appreciate the conversations you and I have had. You've shared with me the impact of that experience on you personally and on your family and on your son. It certainly is something that I was aware of in terms of a situation that happened prior to me. And I'll tell you, I think here, the number one thing is to make sure that we create an environment that is an environment where we know what our expectations are for our children. One, that we're actively teaching everybody within our school communities of the rich diversity of our student population, of the extraordinary value of diversity within our community, and also that we learn together as a community when something such as the experience that you experienced and your family experienced, when it occurs, that we open up dialogue, that we talk, that we all understand that any one mistake is an opportunity to grow and get better.
Yep.
that at the end of the day, in a school system, we are an organization that works to improve the lives of children. And children at times will do right, and at times will do wrong, and there's always an opportunity to learn and get better. Mm-hmm. And us as adults have to support that. And I think here you recognized and saw at a time that the community rallied behind your family. That's the community we have. And the more we open up our doors to the entire community, and ensure that our children know that the community is behind them, and that we create an environment that's learning for everyone, for the adults and the students, where we can all learn together about the richness of the diversity that's within our school communities. I think we all get better as a result of it. And I think what you shared previously with me of just the open conversations that took place after what was a very hurtful experience for your family, the growth and the learning is how everyone gets better as a result. And I think there, where we have those open conversations, those open discussions, then I think even when there are behaviors that step outside of our norms, our expectations, and the standards we have as a community, we learn from them and we can get better from them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Boyd. It looks like you are answering my questions as if leading to the next questions, as if you have a copy of my question. That's really okay. This question ties to your answer, and it really touches me in the heart. About it says, how is the district able to support the mental health needs of students? Has the district seen a rise in behavioral mental health needs in the past 2 years?
We've seen an increase. We've also seen an increase in awareness of mental health needs among young people. So we're learning more and more about the needs of our young people around the social and emotional aspects of youth development. We have a director of mental health services that was a new office that we created. We also have a coordinator of social emotional learning. So we look at it in a proactive way. How do we teach youngsters up front to understand their own internal emotional processes, how their minds are developing? We used to call them just simply character traits. But we go further than that now through an entire social emotional learning curriculum to help our children just to understand the different emotions that they're experiencing, and help them to process through different situations that may come down the line in the future. How do they understand their relationship to peers, their relationship to self? All of that is part of kind of the proactive teaching that we do with students throughout their K-12 journey. The second thing we do is also to provide direct intervention when a student has a need. We have social workers in all of our schools. Our social workers are able to connect our students to the right type of mental health services that they may need, and partnering with our families to help our families understand, a generation ago, my generation, this wasn't part of what you had in school, but it's something that we're learning now. And it's something that we can support all of our parents with. We're continuously learning, continuously supporting, and making sure that we get better as an organization around supporting our children. And our social workers do an incredible job in every school. We've invested more resources for increased social workers in each school, and our director of mental health services is doing an incredible job to coordinate those services for our kids.
And I'd like to take a few moments to say that you are watching African Hour. And African Hour is a program that brings our leaders to inform, educate, and sensitize us about the opportunities that are available to Lowellian citizens. Thank you very much, Dr. Boyd. My special guest right now is the Superintendent of Schools in Lowell, Dr. Joel Boyd. Thank you very much, sir, for showing up on African Hour. How integrated are the AP courses at Lowell High School? and how many students of color are on track for AP calculus? What is the district specifically doing to integrate AP classes?
Yeah, so we have all of the advanced placement courses available for our students. A new initiative that we also have that's along the same track. So advanced placement provides students through their high school courses the opportunity to earn equivalent college credits. You score a certain number on the AP exam that usually counts towards college credits in most college environments. We have all of those courses. The other thing that we just added, though, within the last few years is our early college program. Our early college program works with the same concept and philosophy where students can actually, instead of just earning some credits, they can earn an entire associate's degree as they move through their high school experience. So all of our students in their freshman year are provided with a early college seminar, which is in partnership with Middlesex Community College. And depending on how many courses they take within our early college programming, students can, by the end of their senior year, have 1 full year of college courses under their belt. And we also have the opportunity through our early college promise, in partnership with Middlesex Community College, students can, free of charge, upon graduating from Lowell High School, enroll in Middlesex Community College and complete their associate's degree if they completed that 1 year of the associate's degree. Associate's degree is 2 years. They can stay on for a 5th year and complete that 2nd year, all free of charge while remaining as a student at both Middlesex and Lowell High School. So we've expanded our post-secondary opportunities with a focus on early college. It gets after some of the same opportunities of post-secondary readiness as advanced placement, just a different way to provide students those opportunities, and we're really proud of that partnership. We've expanded that significantly and provided for thousands of credit hours for our students. Really important partnership with Middlesex Community College, and as you know, they're only a half a mile apart.
Yes, walking distance.
Right down the street, so students can walk between their high school and Middlesex Community College. And in 5 years, from the time they start their freshman year until the end of their 5th year, they graduate with both a diploma and an associate's degree without a single dime having to be spent by the families.
Wow, that's really building a bridge from the Lowell High to Middlesex Community College. Once you take college classes at high school, it's just a smooth transition when you move to college.
That's right.
So I think that's really wonderful.
We're going to keep expanding it. We think it's an opportunity that we're seeing that our students appreciate. It's an opportunity that our families appreciate, and it's an opportunity we're going to continue to expand for our students at Lowell High.
Dr. Boyd, I think we have very limited time, and we are really winding down. This question comes from another member of the community. The school committee is dealing with a few HR issues in the school department. What type of issues are these, and what is the district doing to address these concerns?
So as a school district, we have a goal of not only being the highest performing school district for our students, we also want to be the best place for people to work. We employ over 2,000 employees in the school district. So at any given time, a concern can be raised by a staff member in an organization our size, and we're working to make sure that we can investigate any of those concerns, that we hear our staff members, and that we work to make sure that we can provide them with support. So I believe this question relates to our school committee. Most school committees have these discussions about personnel in private. Our school committee has taken the step to say we want to have these conversations in public, to allow the public to be in on these conversations, and we can be really transparent about how we're supporting our employees. So we are one of the largest school districts in the Commonwealth, both in terms of the number of students we serve and also the number of employees we have. And we want to make sure that not only is it the best school district for students, but it's also the best place for people to work. And I think our school committee takes that seriously. I certainly take it seriously as superintendent. So anytime somebody has a concern, we want to make sure that concern's heard and that the employees supported. I think that's where the questions come from, the committee's desire to make sure we have these conversations in public so that the public also has confidence that this is going to be the best place for people to work.
And also, I think it also assures the public that there's transparency within the system. So, thank you very much, Dr. Boyd. Again, Dr. Boyd, thank you very, very much for appearing on African Hour. And African Hour is a show that brings our leaders to talk to the community, inform, educate, and explain what they serve us, because our leaders in the community, they serve us, and it is an opportunity for them. And I am very, very honored that Dr. Boyd graciously accepted my invitation to come on African Hour. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor. So thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. This last question, can you provide an overview of the new central administrators you have added to the school department, their titles and their responsibility?
Yeah, I think the one, and we've been talking about that probably resonates most with the conversations we've been having, is that when I first got here to Lowell, we created an office of educational equity and community empowerment. So we have a chief equity and engagement officer, which is a new position for Lowell Public Schools in 2019. That's Miss Latifah Phillips. She's doing an extraordinary job of bringing together all of our community partners, helping us to leverage all of the diversity within our community, and ensuring that our families and our students are both valued and affirmed in everything that we do within the community, that we're serving all of our language populations, 70 different languages spoken, making sure that families are receiving communication in the language of their home, and ensuring that that notion of equity, fairness, social justice carries throughout everything that we do as a school district. So that office, the Office of Educational Equity and Community Empowerment, has been really important to the work that we've done. The work within that office, Zoe's work is right within that Office of Equity and Empowerment we were talking about earlier. That's a new office for us in 2019. It's an office that we created when I came here as superintendent, and we're finding extraordinary value within that office, and extraordinary work by a number of individuals within that office, but it's led by the Chief Equity and Engagement Officer, that's Ms. Latifah Phillips.
Dr. Boyd, thank you very much for the wonderful job that you and your staff do. And with the few minutes that are left, sir, I would like you just to speak to the people in Lowell.
I will tell you, I think Lowell is one of the great cities in this country, and our schools are some of the best within the country, and we're working to create the best urban school system, not only here in the Commonwealth, but in the nation as a whole. And I'm really just quite proud of the work that's happening within our schools, and full of hope and optimism for the future of Lowell Public Schools. So thank you to anybody who's watching, who's partnered with us, who's supported us, and I send an invitation to everyone within our community to partner with us as we continue to improve the experiences for 14,500 young people that attend any one of our 28 schools on any given day. It's truly an honor and a privilege to serve this community, and I have great hope and optimism for the future.
And on that note, African Hour is proud to welcome the Superintendent of Schools here in Lowell, Dr. Joel Boyd. And my name is Fru Nkimben, producer of African Hour. And before I end this show, I would like also to thank Lowell Telemedia Corporation for giving the opportunity for African Hour, and also to thank the staff doing everything that this program goes smoothly. Is my very good friend Wednesday, and you have the interim executive director Dan Bavarian, and all the staff who continue to support all of us. And on that note, I will say that this show is coming from the all-American city of Lowell, Massachusetts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Doc.